Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Vic's Garage. Despite a lack of videos in relation to the Charger restoration, things are moving along. I've just been kind of inundated and I got a lot of video editing to do, so we're gonna have hopefully a few videos come out in the next little bit. But in this one, we're gonna cover the rest of the floor pan install. We've got the AMD footwells and the used rear seat pan installed in this car. Big steps forward. Unibody cars, the floor is a huge structure of the car, and to have the whole midsection finally tied together with the frame rails and stuff is huge. A few small hiccups along the way, nothing major, but it's kind of typical stuff you can expect for sheet metal work. So we're gonna go over all that. You're gonna see the install, and then hopefully I'll get the next video out to you soon. So let's get started on this one, show you the process, and just see how good it looks with a full floor in it. Okay, so you can see here, we got the rear seat pan fitted and in. I just tacked the sides. We haven't done it to the rails yet, just because we might have to play with the rails a bit. We're gonna double check all those measurements. So this will allow us to still kind of shift them a little bit left and right. But you can see for the most part, the original spot welds in the rail and this seat pan line up pretty good. I mean, you can see them overlapping and stuff like that. I forget what those screws are. I feel like there was something for shipping or something, but those holes lined up on both sides of the rail. So I've got those in to help indicate. And I'll show you the other way we kind of indicated and ensured that this thing fit where it was supposed to. So it's a little dark in here, but you can see this is the inside of the wheel well on the driver's side. We took the lip off, obviously, the inner wheel well, and look how that lines up. You can see the spot welds are probably off a bit on the original wheel well, but that lip on this pan lines up just perfect. You can see it there, just a slightly lower there, slightly higher up here, but that's pretty good. So I think overall this pan is right where it needs to be. So once we end up finalizing getting this in, we will end up replacing these wheel wells at some point, but this just shows you how we lined it up and got it in good. Come around to the trunk. We kind of just laid this in place where it's supposed to be, and it looks like it's gonna line up well in its location that's required too. So all these pieces seem to fit together well, and we're well on our way. So we're gonna get into burning this pan in, and then the footwells, and then we'll have a whole floor section. Okay, so here we got the rear footwells test fitted. We haven't welded in the rear seat pan yet, but we've got it on the sides, held in place. Then there's also those two bolts. So it's lined up where we want it. like we said earlier. It took a little massaging to get these in a position we liked. They sit a little high off the rear frame rails, but we can see along here, we got some nice overlap on the front lip with the actual main floor. Fits pretty tight along the rocker here. This is the driver's side. I'll show you the passenger side where it fits all right too. The rear rails are where it sits a little high, just the bottom tabs. If you look on the sides, it's pretty good. Here's the passenger side. You can see that sits nice and flush with the rocker. Again, the bottom tab, but even along the back here, it's not so bad, it's pretty good. So once we, I'm gonna take these out now that they're test fitted and we're happy with it. We've got screws and stuff to mark where we wanna line things up again. We're gonna clean up all the lips, get ready for welding, and then we're gonna have to massage those bottom lips up. Well, massaging in this groove here. Try to get it nice and tight on that bottom side. Okay, so here we are. We got the footwells in place, screwed and clamped. So they are in their final position before I start welding them in. Took a fair amount of screws along the back lips over here, just because, you know, you're trying to mat these two shapes of the floor, and that's a used rear seat pan. That's gonna be good to go. So we're gonna start welding that up as well. Go to the driver's side. And you can see the only spot where it's a little high, it's gonna need some work, is right here. The passenger side fit really well there, but I'm gonna get a hammer on the back side and try to stretch out the transmission tunnel a bit and then screw it together. And I think that's gonna pull that fairly tight. It's sitting back here, nice against these frame rails, but it's still, you can see the bottoms is where there's a bit of a gap. It came out better on the passenger side, but we'll look underneath in a second. All along the firewall, or sorry, the rockers is nice and fits tight. Don't need any screws there. And again, just a few on this hump, pull it all together. So here we are, just finishing up the rear footwells, and I just want to show, these are AMD footwells. AMD, and you can see this last set of welds here has quite the gap in it. If we look underneath, oh, that's probably 1/4 inch or so. So what we're gonna do here, between clamping it, which will pull it maybe 1/8, we're gonna use the air chisel we're gonna hammer this down a bit, stretch that metal out, then clamp it, then weld it, and that should get the gap pretty close. And if I can't get it up that last little bit, then we'll hammer it from the bottom up. But I want to stretch it here because I don't like to screw around with the rails much. Like, I'd rather stretch this metal here a bit than hammer the rails. So we're gonna hammer up here first, and then we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll adjust it from the rails. Okay, so now you can see we've stretched that down a bit and it's way tighter. This one here, still a little high. I'll hammer it a bit more. This one here too is not bad. This one's pretty much good to go. And you can see the difference in that gap from the bottom now. The front lip's not bad. You're gonna maybe tap it up a bit from the bottom from here, and then we'll weld it in. Okay, and here we are with the completed rear footwells and seat pan installed. So you can see for a used pan, this one's all pretty nice and dandy. We didn't weld these in yet, just because we still got to do the work on the wheel wells and quarters, and who knows what might be involved there. So we just figured it's best to leave those, and we'll get to those later. Footwells came out nice. I will show you the underside in a minute. So nice and tight on the rockers with the front floor. If you remember this gap here, this is much better now. I could probably still even maybe get this down a little bit more, but I think that's pretty good compared to how it was. Here's the driver's side, and you can see that ended up coming down nice and tight after we hammered the top and then clamped it all together. So that 1/4 inch gap, and you can kind of see it all the way over there on the passenger side, it's just as good. So in the end, we were able to get that nice and tight, and I'm happy with it. So there you have it, guys. That's the rear footwells and seat pan installed. A big step for this project. Now all the metal work through the middle of the car is done. We still got a few small patches here and there on like the rockers where things were damaged before, and we'll get to those. We're working on the front end right now, so I should have a video up in regards to that soon. It's a lot of fitting and measuring to get that squared away, and then that'll all get welded in. So working on that next, and as soon as that's done, I will get it out to you. If you haven't yet, check out my video on the Black Ghost. That was coming up for auction soon at Mecum. And it's going to be interesting to see what that car goes for, and if you believe the stories or not associated with it. I mean, it's a cool background story. It's nice to see a car with a lot of family heritage. I love that kind of stuff. You know, I kind of hope to leave this car to my children someday, or at least the one that shows the most interest in it as they get older. So I like a good story like that. I'm a sucker for it. So check out that. And yeah, if you haven't seen my video on the Eco Diesel intake, that's an eye opener if you own one of those trucks. So check that one out too. Other than that though, guys, thanks for watching. We're going to keep chipping away at this project, and I promise you I'll get more videos up soon. That's it for this one. Take it easy. See you around.